What's up, ladies and gents? xcalizorz here, bringing you some more from the desk of xcal, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about good old Battlefield 2042. Believe it or not, it's still around. And believe it or not, so am I. Hey, my guy. But, so in the past few weeks here, I've been playing a lot of 2042, and Battlefield is, at least in modern day, has been a franchise that I can fall back upon when, I get sick of Call of Duty, a little bit bored of it, or Call of Duty that particular year is not so great, don't feel like playing it, and, especially for this year's entry, yeah, Call of Duty do kind of be what it be. So what do I look towards? I look towards Battlefield. And since we last talked about it, at least here on this channel, Battlefield has gone through several major updates. They've reworked, redesigned some of the base maps. We're up to Season 4 now. They've brought back the class system if you're a veteran of the franchise and didn't like that, the lack of classes to start with. And long story short, the game is much better today than it was yesteryear. But for my tastes and preferences, I do find that there is still a lot that needs to be worked on and looked at, but I know they just announced that they're going to be supporting this game for at least another year, and quite honestly, I don't think that's enough time. Not that anyone in a position of importance would listen to what I have to say anyway and take my ideas into consideration, but that will not stop me from broadcasting through the airwaves with what I think and what I got to say here. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So, while the game is better today, it's not something that I could give a full-throated endorsement. It's like, yeah, dude, you really gotta check out 2042. It's so much better now. Depending on your tolerances for certain things, whether you're aware of them or not, it's it'd be 50-50. It's and I can see why people like it, and I can see why someone like me has the issues that I do. So let's start there. So first things first, the maps. Like I said, they've reworked a couple of the base maps. I do believe the game launched with 6. They've reworked 5 of them. Discarded still has yet to be reworked. If it even is going to be reworked, I'm not sure. And I gotta say, even with the reworks, the base maps, they still kind of stink. And in some cases, the reworks have made the maps worse. Case in point, Manifest. I thought Manifest was one of the better maps to start with, at least on Conquest 128. If all else fails, Hamburger Hill, the B sector, good old-fashioned meat grinder, not too annoying like the 3-lane theory of Operation Metro or Operation Locker. Good times for the most part on Hamburger Hill. Ever since they reworked it, and I've dabbled here and there over the past couple months since the game has released, and Manifest, it's kind of a stinker. And you can't really talk about like the maps without mentioning the player count, because they really are intertwined. The maps were designed for 128 people, and it's just for my money, I feel like 128 players has been a drastic failure of game design. It's just fallen completely flat. The maps they're just too big. There's just too many people. It's so chaotic. It's so random. There's no flow. It's not more apparent than when you play Conquest. And actually, because Conquest can get so rotten, I've actually taken the checking out Breakthrough, the attack and defense game mode, because at least with this game mode, there's a level of predictability, but even then, like some of these points and sectors and sections of the map is just like what's going on here? This isn't working. This needs to be better. And we'll get a little bit into that. But before I even get into that, there's something I gotta mention. This is a random thought that had popped into my head maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And it's probably due to it is due to the fact that I've been dabbling in Overwatch again. And it hit me. I was like, wait a minute. why aren't more games doing a one map, one game mode approach? So, you know, like in Overwatch, you know, Lijiang Towers, that's only control, right? It's, you know, it doesn't have push. It doesn't have what are the game modes are even in that? It doesn't have you know, it doesn't have push, it doesn't have escort, it's just control. You know, honestly, a game like this could really benefit from that. One map, one game mode, and there's no better map to that could really benefit, or, you know, or that would prove my point, rather, than Discarded. So, Discarded on Conquest 128, for my preferences, and you know, the way I like to play a game like Battlefield, is probably the best. If I had to choose one map and one game mode to play, it would be Discarded Conquest 128 for me. But since I've taken to playing a little bit more Breakthrough these days, Breakthrough on Discarded is an insta quit for me. It is just an awful map, because the attackers, they start, and in order to get to the first sector, Sector A, they have to cross a giant open field with no natural cover at all. I mean, at best, what you can hope for is a tiny hill to go prone behind so that your head doesn't get dinked by, you know, the several snipers that are waiting on the other side. And the only way to really reliably actually get to the sector would be through a vehicle or through smoke grenades. And if you're going with the smoke grenade route, which is, you know, typically how I end up getting to the first sector, is you better be packing an ammo box, because 2 smoke grenades ain't gonna cut it. And you'll be lucky if you have teammates that follow you through that smoke. So and you know, God forbid you play it on defense. I mean, you're competing with 32 other players for a turkey shoot. It's not fun to play on offense. It's not fun to play on defense. And really, I feel like, you know, a lot of this game's problems could probably be alleviated if they had done, you know, one map, one game mode like Overwatch. But unfortunately, I don't think I'll see that in my lifetime. At least for, you know, for a game like Call of Duty or Battlefield, where, you know, the casual FPS experience, you know, something like that would probably just, you know, these games apparently are hard enough to make as is, and, you know, one map, one game mode, when people expect, you know, how upset were people about the 6 maps on release for this game? You know, the lack of maps for Call of Duty 2022 here. That's why we've got so many you know, remasters, reimaginings of old certified hood classics and such, right? Gotta draw from the well, so to say. So, you know, some of the DLC maps, I mean, they're okay. I'd say the best of the bunch so far that I've played is probably Spearhead. It's an acceptable map, but, you know, there's nothing on the level. You know, we'll use BF1 as an example here. It's, you know, there's nothing like Achi Baba. God for Achi Baba's a god tier map. No Argonne, no Amiens, no Fort de Vaux, no Priests, no Nibble Knights. Even like a B tier map like Rapture. You know, so we could even throw like Ballroom Blitz in there. You know, that map can be hit or miss, but, you know, when it's good, it's good. But when it's bad, it's bad. You know, there's nothing even like that in this game. I think as that, yo, it's a big yikes for me, dog. I don't think anyone says that anymore. See, I'm getting old. I am old. What can I say? Oh yeah, the maps still leave a lot to be desired. Yes, what do they have? 4 or 5 more maps that they've released since then to the core game. I don't know if they've done anything for Portal. Don't really care. That feature of the game has never appealed to me. So, moving on. So, another big problem that I feel this game has is the squads, and your inability to leave a squad and find a different one all in the same match. Now, I mean, it's entirely possible there is a way. I mean, I've asked the chat, no one ever answers me. And, you know, with the way UIs are designed these days, I mean, maybe it's buried in there somewhere. I mean, look at that right there. It's numbers and text and pushable buttons. I don't know what I'm looking at most of the time. Real talk. And like Battlefield, at the end of the day, is a squad-based game. You know, it is built upon, you know, being able to spawn on your squad mates, and you know the underlying squad play that happens. You know, the resupplying, the healing, the you know, spotting for your teammates, so on and so forth. And like, especially this is no more apparent than if you play solo, because in previous games, I don't know if I've talked about it in a previous video. I know I've talked about it on stream, but you know, so much of your enjoyment of a modern Battlefield game will be, you know, what kind of players are in your squad, right? I mean, if you got dumpy squad mates, they're not going to be killing anything. They're going to be in odd parts of the map. You're certainly not going to get revived or resupplied or healed or anything like that. It'll just end up being, well, they're not really where I want to be, so I guess I'll just, you know, be a lone wolf. And being a lone wolf in a squad-based shooter like Battlefield is really not that fun. And in previous entries to this series, if your squad sucked, no problem, find a different one. And in my experience, the good players would eventually find their way to one another, and then now you're rolling. You've got people playing the right classes. You got people who know what's going on. They know where to be, and the difference between a dumpy squad and a good squad in this game is night and day. And to take that even further in this game, like in this footage here, I'm lucky enough to have a guy from the chat playing with me, Hundus. He's a premier support player, and even just having one guy who knows how to play the game of Battlefield is a night and day difference between playing alone. And it's actually absurd that one guy on your team, in your squad, in a server full of 64, 128 people, can have such an impact on your enjoyment of the game. And I can't understand why it's something they took out of. You know, maybe it's something they overlooked, or, you know, it's something they decided to cut because they wanted to copy, you know, all the worst parts from Modern Warfare 2019, try and cash in on the microtransaction train and all that crap. As, you know, again, it's in the previous games, you know, on top of that, you know, once you finally get the squad full of good players, decent players, you know, you can look at the squad and say, all right, what do we got here? All right, we got 2 people running assault, we got a support, and we got a recon. You know what the squad needs? It needs a medic. Boom, done. You'll be rolling the whole game to the next match. Next match, same thing. Oh, we're missing a support. Boom. All right, I'll drop the ammo, no problem. We don't have someone launching flares. Easy. I love sniping in Battlefield 1. I'll roll recon, no problem. In this game, there's no thought process to that. Like even if you're playing with, you know, a squad, like, it's honestly, like, the way they have it set up, even with the class system back, I find it's just, you know, it's really just better just to play for yourself. You know, find the kit that you want to do. So these days, I have found the wonder that is known as Zane and his ridiculous air burst grenades and the goofy SPH launcher. I don't remember if this is my first or second match, but this is early on. I've gotten much cheesier with the air burst since this gameplay, believe me, and it didn't take long. So, and anyway, it's just that there's this no thought process that, you know, just play what you want, and I don't know. It's kind of sad that this game turned out to be that way, because, you know, it was really fun in Battlefield 1. It's like, you know, seeing what your squad has, and, you know, it added to a level of variety. Is, you know, all right, well, so okay, so I'll play, you know, support this match. Oh, I get to go assault this match, and it's a close quarters map. Genius, love that. Get to roll with the MP18. You know, love sniping, love supporting. I liked all the classes and weapons in BF1, and in this game there's no consideration towards that. So, because especially too with, you know, every class, specialist, whatever, can use every gun. I'll just play for I mean, if they keep Zane the way it is, you know, I could play Zane every match for the rest of my time on this game. So then, you know, that's a huge problem, I feel. lost its soul, so to say. There's a little more thought, you know, a little more, you know, a little more flavor in the older entries. So, squad and the classes, why? It used to be so much better. Why did we lose sight of all that? So, moving on, and this will tie into the maps and player count too. Probably the reason why I'm playing a lot more Breakthrough. It's like it's not something I touched at the start of this game, but as far as like Conquest goes, it's like the maps are they're too big and there's too many people. And the way I like to play Battlefield, for the most part, is, you know, I prefer, you know, a flanking play style. You know, do a little jack reach around, capture a back point, and all that sort of fun stuff. But because the maps are so big, and because there's so many people, it's really just hard to get like a good sense of how the game is flowing. I mean, I'm not even really sure you could, like, even if you wanted to, there's not really much of a predictable flow. Like, you know, I hate to keep going back to Battlefield 1, but I can't help it at this point. You know, in Battlefield 1, you know, there's always that big main skirmish at, you know, whatever point in the map, and then maybe there'll be like 2 or 3 smaller engagements throughout the other parts of the map of people, you know, trying to flank and outflank and all that sort of stuff. And it was a lot more predictable. Now, granted, you know, Battlefield has always been that way, dating back to even 1942, 23 years ago, where, you know, like, why are you in the bush there? The bush Wookiee will always be there, but in this game, the randomness is just even more pronounced. And it's just like how, and especially with the size of the maps, you spend 3 or 4 minutes trying to work on a great flank. You kill one guy, then what happens? You get shot in the back. Well, that was fun, and that, you know, that'll tie in again to, you know, do you have a dumpy squad with you and then you're shit out of luck, or do you have just maybe you're lucky enough to have a good squad, and maybe you can, you know, sort of detract, get around some of that randomness, right? But and that's why I find myself playing more and more breakthrough, breakaway. Breakaway's the map. Breakthrough. I find myself playing more and more breakthrough because, again, at least the engagements are a little more predictable. Though unfortunately, there's not much flanking to be done because, you know, it's sort of like the I don't know, it's, you know, the immovable force versus the, you know, the unstoppable object and all that. Immovable object, unstoppable force. There we go. Losing my mind here. So it's a little bit less random in this game mode, but, you know, it's your options are limited as to what you can actually end up doing. And you know, it's very pronounced in this map. We don't see it in this footage here, but the last sector on defense is absurd, and I don't know what DICE's franchise or DICE's infatuation is with tiny areas with a limited amount of choke points. So the last point, it's just classic DICE design. Like, you know, it even infested Battlefront 2. Good lords, you know, I'm wishing for a game like Battlefront 2 these days, but, you know, you can't stuff 64 people, God forbid 128 people, and expect them to try and go through 3 choke points. You know, everyone has explosives and nades, and, you know, God forbid if there's someone with Zane who knows what they're doing, spamming through the choke points. You know, forget about it. It's just, well, what are we supposed to do here? It's like, DICE has this idea in their head that, you know, 32 people, or God forbid 64 people will all be, alright, we all in position, we all have smokes and we're ready to throw trophy systems down, and med boxes and syringes and all that stuff as we push. Alright, on 3, 1, 2, 3, boom! No, it doesn't work. No, it never worked like that. I played competitive Battlefield, you know, back in the day. It's hard enough to get 12 people on the same page and get them all coordinated. You know, I played World of Warcraft. It's hard to get 40 people, 25 people to do the same thing. It's, you know, it's like the level of coordination that would be required to, like, push through some of these choke points. It's just, it's never gonna happen. you know, it's just through happenstance. I don't know, something's got to give eventually, right? And you don't know what caused it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's, you know, it's whatever. So, and that's kind of been, you know, there's without fail, you know, game in, game out, year after year. There's always something like that. So, especially, yeah. So, all right, yes. Sectors, capture points too small, way too many people, so on and so forth. And I think to cap it off too, yeah, it's not like the Battlefield has ever been known for a great netcode. Trust me on this, it was awful 20 years ago, and it's still awful 20 years later. A lot of inconsistencies. You know, bullets that you feel should be hitting aren't hitting. You're dying way around corners, like really, you know, blatant and obvious. Like, how did the bullet go that far around the corner? Plus, you know, it's like the random bullet deviation and the weapon spread. It's, you know, Battlefield 1 got a lot of flack for, you know, how, you know, the bullet trajectories would work in that game. But good lord, they made a lot more sense than this game does. You know, I get, you know, you don't want people with like something that's meant for close quarters beaming someone, you know, 100 meters out, but you know, I've had several instances where I've beamed a guy from, you know, 60, 70, 80 meters that you send 10 shots down range, he's gone. You try that same exact shot 5 minutes later, you mag dumped, and he's still got half health. It's, you know, it's still wildly inconsistent, you know, from engagement, from match to match. And to top that off, too, I still think the recoil bug is still a thing. Because sometimes a gun can handle like a dream, and then the very next engagement, it's like, whoa, I gotta reset my hand on my mouse. It's like, I think I'm doing something wrong on my end. It's like, you know, it's the gun handling experience leaves a lot to be desired in this game too. But you know, what is a Battlefield game without inconsistencies and maps way too big? It's been like that for a long time, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised, right? And when the next Battlefield game comes out and all these things are still there, I shouldn't be surprised there either. So I think that about sums it up, wraps it up. You know, maps still stink, too big, too many people, the lack of not being able to, you know, leave and join a new squad, huge issue. Classes in this game very soulless. Yeah, it's no real variety, and yeah, it's bad choke points, super tiny capture points, and yeah, and that just about does it. So, thank you guys very much for listening to another rant from your boy Bruce. It's what I do best. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we're out of here. Peace.